Yes. Was it a good one? Who's the author of that one?
Hey, Rose.
Hello, how is it going?
Right, I'm on microphone here. Can you just give me a sec?
Sure.
Yeah. No,
Hi,
not.
Rose.
Okay. Mother says hi, my honey.
Hi,
How are you, my darling?
I am doing good. More importantly, how are you?
How long you got? No, seriously, it's I'm going to talk to you outside of this Zoom. I'm just finishing off a wee form for somebody, and then I'll come back to you. But I just wanted to say hi as I saw you. You're already there. Oh, look, you're on camera. I'll go on camera too. Hello.
Okay.
Right. All right. Oh, there. Hi, honey. So, yeah, I'm just going to finish off the form, and then I'm going to come back in, and then we can have a quick chat.
Okay, sounds good. I will see you later.
Brilliant. Hey, I'm back.
You're back? That's good.
I'm back. Oh my God, I'm out of breath. Whew. Yeah, I thought to myself, well, I haven't been doing so great lately.
Oh.
Of which you know.
Right.
But it's almost like, hang on, I'm making a complete mess here. Hi. But I thought to myself, well, because it's Voyager, and because, as you know, Voyager was my go-to, my first coping strategy for the invasion, I thought, well, you know what? I don't really want to miss a Voyager thing.
Especially if it's the kickoff. This is the kickoff to the whole month.
Exactly, and I thought if I miss the kickoff, it's going to, you know, if you miss the start, you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do the rest now.
Yes, see, so you can come to this, and then you can come to the other ones when you can. Nobody expects everybody to go to everything.
No, exactly. So I thought, oh, hang on, I've left my drink. So yeah, I thought, well, no, I need to come to the first one because A, that will set the tone, like you said. I'm more likely to go to the others if I come to this one. And also, I was just like, no, I want to come back to a Zoom because I miss you guys.
We also miss you. See, so, and this day is going to be, they've got 4 things going on today. The other 2 may be a bit late for you, but there's like this, and then at 2 o'clock, they're doing the first episode of Voyager.
Well, actually, I was going to have to consider missing the trivia because that starts at midnight. But now, what I was going to have to do tomorrow is actually happening with other people tonight. So it's like, oh, okay, I won't have to do that then. Yay! Saves me a job.
I can make the ones tomorrow. I can come tomorrow ones.
Oh, you can't? Oh.
Because it's rehearsal and I've got a meeting right after rehearsal, so I am gone from like 12:30 to about 9:30 my time. So everything is happening between 1 and 7, I think. See, so I wouldn't even be able to catch the tail end of the last one.
That's true.
But I'm thinking if I can do the Saturday ones, then I can just be sad about the Sunday ones.
Oh, bless you. Oh, fair enough. So you've been keeping okay, have you? Because I've not been particularly great with communication, for which I apologise. So yeah, we haven't been able to have our regular chats, which I've missed.
Me too. But I understand that you can only do so much. So I'm always here whenever you want to talk.
Oh, bless you. But you've been all right, have you?
I have been all right, yes.
Oh, that's really good.
I had to switch pharmacies because, I don't know, some kind of computer thing at the one pharmacy, and now I'm trying to switch everything over. And it's taking forever and a day. And meanwhile, I just need to get prescriptions refilled. So that's giving me a headache. My doctor is never good at following up with things. So she's annoying me a bit at the moment. But
yeah. I'll tell you this much. I know the feeling well. Not so much because of my GP, but the pharmacy I only use because, hello R2, I don't actually know your name, but hi R2.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my pharmacy.
But like you said, we can chat about it, like when we get off of here.
Yeah, that's cool.
That sounds very, very good. And otherwise, we can be like Voyager eyes. I'm watching Wicked, and Wicked makes you change your words. Okay.
Right. I was thinking, hang on, did I just hear what I heard or what? I'm confused.
Well, there's a line in Wicked where she's supposed to be saying she's confused, and she's saying, I'm confusified.
I love it, confusified. I love that. Can I steal that?
I know. So it's like, Wicked just went to like digital streaming on December 31st. So if you get a chance, you've got to like see if you can get it.
I saw that on Netflix actually. I was like, okay, that's new. I didn't go into it though because I was half asleep. I just wanted something for the background. But yeah, I did see it, so I will be diving into that at some point. But first, I want to do a rewatch with you with Heartstopper.
Yes, we have to do Heartstopper because Heartstopper is like so very good.
Yes, and I'm going to try it with my other laptop because I know that works for sure with the camera. So I think if I try it with the other one, we might actually be able to have me on camera as well as you.
Okay, I am out of commission for the next 2 days because I have a meeting on, well, 3 days. I have a meeting on Monday that's going to last half the day, and then I got a doctor's appointment on Tuesday. So after
That's
that,
okay,
I'm
honey.
totally free.
I'm going to forget that, but that's okay. Just be like yes or no. I mean, it's the easiest way forward, really.
That is very, very good. So, they were talking about on the cruise this year that they've got, I think, everybody but one of the Voyager cast because of the 30th anniversary.
Oh my God.
You know, so I thought that would be very, very cool.
When's the cruise?
Beginning of February, I think.
Yeah. Actually, someone on here, I forget who it is now, but somebody mentioned like there was some kind of prize draw to get tickets. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. I'll go and have a look at that. And then when I've looked, one of the rules is you have to be a resident of the US. And I was like, well, that rules me out then. That's not fair.
There's so many draws that I've picked up to try to do, and it says you have to be a resident of the United States. And sometimes it says you have to be a resident of the continental United States.
What's the difference?
Hawaii and Alaska are not part of the US. They're sort of off by themselves.
Oh.
But they don't get included in some of the contests.
Oh, that's nice.
Do you know that Hawaii is 6 hours difference between the West Coast? No, 6 hours difference between East Coast time and Hawaii. Because one time when I was at work, I did not pay attention to that fact. I was at a call center.
Yeah.
And I was calling at 11 o'clock my time, and it was, I think, 6 a.m. their time. So they're not happy with me.
That's hilarious.
And it was, I had to get used to, very much get used to time zones, you know?
Oh, you know, I did.
England is in all one time zone, right? Like,
yeah, this is what I said. I was talking to somebody. Was it Kears or someone? I said that, you know, even America itself has more than one time zone. I was just like, you know what, that is so greedy. Why would any one place need more than one bloody time zone? I mean, literally just from the south of England to the north of Scotland, you're talking maybe 5-6 hour drive. And well, obviously depending on traffic and weather and blah blah blah, but we're all in the same time zone. And I'm like, I can't get my head around the fact that even in the same country, you've got more than one time zone. And what? Why do you do that?
Well, I was crazy. Was listening to this one YouTube thing, and these two friends were talking, and they lived in the same city, and I think it must have been New York or LA or something, and they were 2.5 hours from each other. I'm going, I can't even imagine that, because I think you can get from one end of my town in like 20 minutes. Or maybe 15. Okay.
Oh my good grief. Well, that's the interesting thing. I did consider the other day, I thought I'd ask Rose if she wants to have a look at where I live, because we're in a village, but we're also within an hour's drive of London, and you can see London from the back garden. But we're surrounded by fields. We're a bit of an oddity, really, because where we are, it was touch wood, it was never built up. It was just left as boggy wetland and stuff. So yeah, as much as we might live in a field, well, but yeah, because we're surrounded by fields. We actually, if you wanted to, you could travel from the houses to the River Thames in a straight line. It's a bit difficult now because a lot of stuff has been put in the way, but you could do it in theory. Go from the house to the River Thames and then just travel the Thames. And actually, they did do that well, a few thousand years ago now. I don't know exactly the timeline, but our village used to have what they call docks for travelling up and down the Thames, but that was all lost years ago. So I thought, you know what, those might like to have a little look round.
Oh, I love it. The one thing I was flabbergasted when I watched Heartstopper, and they said it was like a 9-hour bus ride to go from England to Paris. I'm going, oh, imagine. It's an international flight for us to go to Paris, okay? It takes a while.
Oh, bless you. Well, yes, it would be international. Yeah.
Just to get on a bus and do it is like, I thought it was so cool.
No, you're not wrong, actually. And I mean, we are very close to Dover, so for us it would take an hour to get to Dover, and then it's just travelling from there. So actually, we could literally do what's that? Calais. We could do Calais quite easily in a day if we wanted to.
That just sounds so like unbelievably cool. To be able to do that, it'd be like so much fun.
Well, you just hop in the car and say, "Hey, come on, we're taking the car. Where are we going?" "Oh, only to France. It's fine."
I know, we took that was like a school trip for them. That's another thing that blew my mind. Like, we took a school trip to Ottawa, which is like the capital of Canada.
Oh, right.
And that was, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours. And it was really fun. We were like 13. It was like first time anybody been away from home. But like going to Ottawa and going to Paris, France is a whole different ballgame.
It is, and you know what? It's really easy to forget how close we are to some things and how far we are from others. And I would love to be able to come to Canada, actually, because it's so snowy in parts, and I would just love to visit it. Just because then I can say I've been there. But it is quite a distance. And I do think to myself, well, if I want snow, I'll just go Scotland. It's closer. And cheaper.
I think it's starting to.
Are we? Hey, Mary. Hello, Saru.
I'm here today. Yay! Yes, you did.
Hello, gorgeous boy. I really hope that he can hear that we love him lots.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's good music.
Yes, you are. Yes, you definitely. You're a good boy. Oh, God.
Oh, giving Mummy so many kisses. That's awesome.
Yes.
Mummy needs extra love, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Right.
You know.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Star Trek Family Zoom today. Welcome to Voyager 30. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Hello. All right.
All right. Let me just
Very
adjust
good.
my screen here.
Good.
For some reason, my background is on. There we go. All right. Welcome to the Star Trek Family Voyager 30 celebration kickoff today. We are very, very excited to see all of your bright, smiling faces and to celebrate this amazing show.
Love the modelling, Lisa.
Right, exactly.
Love the modelling.
Very nice.
Right. Let me see here. Let's see. Of course, all of you know me because you guys come to the Zooms frequently. My name is Mark Sickle. I am the host of the Star Trek Family. As always, I have my lovely number one in life, Lisa, sitting to my right. And we are very excited that you all joined us today. Thank you so much. So a little later, we're going to watch the premiere episode, Caretaker, and talk about it. But today, I thought we would just start off this first hour talking about Voyager and what we love about it, what brought us into it, what our favorites are, and go like that. But before I do that, I want to remind everybody that we are doing this whole month-long celebration for you, for our fellow fans. and also for the cast and crew, some of which will be joining us throughout the month for Q&As. But we are also doing, during the whole month of January, we are raising money for charity to feed the hungry and the homeless population in Los Angeles County. We're raising money for the Hollywood Food Coalition, which is a nonprofit charity out of LA that is run by John Billingsley, of course, Dr. Phlox. And what they do, it's actually rather unique. They go to all of the film studios in LA. They rescue all of the craft services and the catering and the food that doesn't get eaten by crew. They recook it off, they repackage it, and then they hand it out to the homeless population in LA. They also provide blankets, they provide clothing, and they provide bathroom kits like toothbrushes and things like that, as well as mobile shower trucks, all sorts of great things. And as we begin a new year, we look forward to the year with hope. Some of these folks don't have that hope. And so I'm very excited and proud that we're supporting them. So at any time, you can donate to the charity. In the chat, there is a link and a QR code. Any amount helps, $5, $10, $100, whatever you feel like you can spare. And also, for every Zoom that we're doing for Voyager 30, or for blocks of Zooms, we're going to have some Voyager-specific prizes to give away. So if you donate while we are Zooming, your name will go into a pot. At the end of the day, we will pull a name out of that pot, and then you guys could potentially win a prize for the day. So,
and another thing that he has not mentioned yet,
yes,
we are hoping, or well, I'm hoping that he can do it. These shirts,
Voyager 30 shirts.
he's going to create. Yeah, I saw the back of it and everything, and it's really cool. I'm going to create some. So whatever, if you guys purchase a shirt, proceeds will still go to the
Yeah,
charity.
we're investigating making these shirts available for you.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
Since we are starting off at the very beginning of Voyager here, of our Voyager celebration, I thought today's prize would be really fitting. You guys remember TV guides, the little TV guides you used to get? All right,
Oh,
well,
yeah,
I
I
have
used to
two
subscribe.
TV guides as the prize today. These are the very first two TV guides that ever came out for Voyager 1. Sorry, one actually came out before Voyager aired. The other one is the week that Voyager aired. So if you make a donation to the charity anytime within the next 3 hours, you will be entered into a drawing for these two very special collector's items, and they are in mint condition, both of them. So that's the prize for today.
Nice.
All right. I'm so happy you guys are all smiling. I love it.
No.
Happy Voyager 30. January 16th of 1995. January 16th of 1995. Paramount created a new flagship show to start off their new television network called UPN. And it was Voyager. Can you believe it's been 30 years? I was 16 years old. Wow. Does anybody remember actually sitting down and watching the first show,
No.
like live when it happened?
1994.
No, I did, but I don't know if I remember.
Yeah.
You don't
I
remember?
did.
Mary Beth, do you remember what you were thinking when you saw it?
I remember being very impressed with Captain Janeway from the very start, and thinking that Harry Kim was very gullible. And
wasn't he?
good with pork.
So you were pretty enthralled by Janeway, right?
Yeah, the whole show, and just having more Trek and a woman captain.
Yeah, of course. I mean, first woman captain of a hero ship and all of Star Trek's history. And I know we saw a captain in Star Trek 2, but this is the first time we really get a woman in command of a hero ship, and so it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Carlos, do you remember watching it?
Accident the day before she docked in Norfolk.
She, I tell you, it's named after Dwight David Eisenhower, for God's sake.
Carlos?
Me, yeah, I remember watching it. It was like
Carlos.
it. Um, I knew Kate Mulgrew from something else.
Oh,
So it was Star Trek and her put together, which I thought was good because she played in a show in the 80s called Mrs. Columbo. It was a takeoff on Columbo. And
mhm.
I liked her on that. And then there was a whole bunch of news going on because they had the one captain that made it a day or something, the one actress who was playing her. So that sort of, and then it was Star Trek on top of it, and anything Star Trek I tuned into. So, but I just remember getting because it was Star Trek, but it was unusual, and it was a woman captain, so I was impressed with that. So, but and it kept getting better until a point, but that's another story.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. Carlos, did you want to chime in?
Um, what was the question? Were we talking about the first episode when it aired?
Yeah. Do you remember watching it live the day that it aired? Do you remember watching the first episode and what were you thinking?
Honestly, I don't. It's been so long. But I mean, obviously it premiered my birthday month, so I was okay with that.
That's right. You just celebrated a birthday yesterday or today?
Actually, today's my birthday.
Today, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Birthday!
My daughter's is the 17th, so I can tell you right now, I was in labor, so no.
Your daughter's birthday was the 17th. Yep. So you don't remember watching it?
Nope,
Dang
So
it.
was she
But you didn't watch Star Trek back then, though.
nope, I did not.
Was
I
she
started
born in
watching
95?
Star Trek. I started watching Star Trek in 2010 or 11, and it was the Next Generation.
Yep, that's what I brought you in on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Data.
I converted her.
Good job.
very good
Right.
job?
You will be assimilated.
And now she's as big of a nerd as I am. Yes.
Yeah.
That's why we get along so
We
well.
need more of them.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Kierce, do you remember watching it?
Thanks for calling me nerd, though.
Hey, that's a good thing. We're happy about being nerds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Wow.
And as I do remember watching it, I liked the idea of a woman captain. I thought that Captain Janeway was pretty well written. But as with all Star Trek pilots that as with the Next Generation pilot, that was the only pilot I had seen to that point because DS9 wouldn't come around for a little while. I remember afterwards thinking, well, Star Trek Next Generation's pilot was pretty bad. This one wasn't as bad, so we'll give it a few more episodes. But, Star Trek pilots and then DS9's pilot, really, I didn't understand it until after I'd watched the first season a couple times. So my view is Star Trek doesn't always do the best pilots.
Sure.
I think that's just
That's
how
fair.
they
I
throw
mean-
too much at you. They throw too much at you and you don't really understand what's going on. And then for me, you had like half a season. You had a shorter season of Voyager that first season. And then I moved to Japan for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
I moved to Japan in August of 94, came back, had a personal life crisis that was like fall of 97 until 98, and then went to grad school. And so the entire run of Voyager, I was either in Japan having a crisis or in grad school. So I didn't actually watch Voyager until 2010.
Okay.
So I
That's
missed
fair.
Voyager during its run. But I love Voyager now. But I
Well,
wasn't
at least
impressed when I saw it first. It's my favorite
That's okay.
series now, but I wasn't impressed with it when I first saw it. Other than I thought it was great that they had a woman captain because it used to be the women were just eye candy and the men got to have all the fun.
Right.
Yeah,
The
you
women
see,
were
don't
damsels in distress.
yeah, don't
Yeah,
feel
the women
too
were
bad.
either the damsels in distress or they were the eye candy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We watched some first season episodes of Next Generation last night on Star Trek Watch Party, and the women were Beverly Crusher really came through, and Tasha Yar. She was more than eye candy.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
there were
she
some
died so
strong.
quickly.
There were some strong female characters for sure. I mean, you look at Major Kira. By the time Voyager's on the
Yeah.
air, DS9's been on the air for a year or two, or 3 years, I think. So
But it-
there are definitely
yeah.
some strong characters, but I think I agree with both sides.
I'm-
That some of the women were eye
I'm-
candy, or the way that they were
Yeah.
utilized in the story was not
I'm
very
thinking
well
about the
done.
way I'm thinking about the way they were utilized before Catherine Janeway came along.
Sure.
Yeah, Major Kira she rocks, and so does Jadzia and Dax, but they weren't there before Janeway was.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
DS9 aired in 1993.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
DS9 had already been
I
on the
thought-
air for 2 or 3
Yeah.
seasons.
Yeah, they were on for 2
Okay.
years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and DS9 confused me so much with the pilot that I don't think I went back to it.
Hey,
No.
that's okay. It was a
Sure, we
high
can see.
concept series,
Yeah,
which is
DS9
interesting because
For sure, we will go DS9.
DS9, the pilot and the first 3 episodes confused me too much, and so I gave up with DS9. I never,
Yeah.
but now I love it. I watch DS9, as a lot of people have commented, it does better when you can watch it like through Netflix or something, because if you miss an episode here or there, you lose it.
right,
Mhm.
exactly.
Okay, so back.
And so
Yeah.
for me, it was such an interesting thing because, we had The Next Generation, which was hugely popular. We had DS9, which was a vastly different concept of a show. And then we have Voyager come out. And Voyager promised to be Next Generation-like, as in we're back on the starship
This is
and
how you
the
get rid of
Starfleet crew. But right away, that gets thrown right out the window when they get thrown to the other side of the galaxy. And all of a sudden, this is not going to be your dad's Star Trek. This is not going to be Next Generation. It's not going to be DS9. So, within a generation and a half, we have 3 very different conceptually Star Treks. And I loved it. I love the way that they did something completely and utterly off the wall different.
But they
So-
had to. I think they had to, because if you would have had 2 Star Treks is remotely similar.
Yeah.
One was obviously going to dominate over the other because they're identical. Why bother and watch both?
Mm-hmm. That's a fair point.
So they had to. And as far as the women, how you say
eye
the
candy.
eye candy, I hate that expression. Let me clarify that.
Sure, I think we all do.
It's very-
It exists, but we hate it.
Yes. Excuse me. Excuse me. That is the way women were treated in the 80s and 90s,
Yeah.
because they were just used not for their talent,
Not always, but
but for
sometimes.
their beauty to attract men. Because if you really think about it, Star Trek, if you do a poll, my opinion is 90% of the viewers are males and 10%
No, it's
are
actually
female.
No, it's actually a much closer ratio. I would bet.
Now,
No, even in the 90s. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Why
not
would it be?
sure about that. I think there were more men than women.
I don't know. Carlos, what do you think? Carlos, did you want to chime in?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I love the Voyager, the way the whole premise on having Janeway, and the fact I was watching a documentary. It was like 2 hours long on Voyager and what made it happen and all the circumstances around it and the casting of Janeway, how each cast member got hired and everything. So it was really interesting. And I love that they made Janeway, Mulgrew, they picked her for that role because she did an amazing job. I didn't remember much of anything that she did prior to that, but she obviously left a strong impression on me as far as her character and the way she ran her ship. When we get into the episodes, there's 2 episodes I wanted to talk about briefly because it just showed her range as an actress and obviously the content of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saw Mrs. Columbo.
Yep.
It did not dawn on me till now, until I heard it from Rose that she was Mrs. Colombo.
She was.
Boom. like Peanut, the puppet guy. Whoa,
Oh.
it just flew.
Yeah.
I did not put two and two together. When
Yeah.
you said Mrs. Colombo, I'm like, wait a minute, what? That was her.
Yeah. And Kate Mulgrew brought such a strong presence to the Brit. She brought so much presence to the role. And we talk about, yeah, it's amazing that there was a woman captain, that we could finally get a female captain, a woman. But it was more than that. I mean, Kate Mulgrew really brought a strength and a power to the role that, I think appealed to a large audience of women who
Okay.
didn't see themselves represented in
Then I have a
command
question.
roles.
She was not the original captain.
That is correct.
So, what made her, did we ever see the original captain?
There is a video
Yes,
clip
we
available.
did.
Yeah. And
But she was never aired as
no,
the original.
she was never actually on network television as Captain Janeway.
Ah,
So
okay.
those of you that know,
Actually,
she was a very famous French actress named Geneviève Bujold, who did a lot of, I believe, movies and sitcoms in France. But she was more of a serious role actor, and she wasn't used to the high pace, high pressure stakes of filming in the United States, which was just a different system. And also there was some disagreement about how her hair was going to be. She wanted it to be a certain way. The producers promised her she could do it that way, and then they changed it, and she just didn't work out of the role. She just really didn't. Like when they filmed the first couple scenes with Genevieve, the director was like, "We can't do this. This is not going to work."
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well,
And within 2 days, she quit.
I like
oh
Mulder
yeah,
Yeah.
because even though I don't know her, it felt like I knew her, but she commanded so much. Her entrance and on that bridge was so powerful. So
Yeah.
bam, it's like, wow, stand on straight. Yes, ma'am. Whatever you want
That's
to
right.
say, you do, I'll do.
And that's Kate's personality too.
yeah.
I had the pleasure of spending an afternoon and having dinner with her, and that is her personality.
Really?
I met her once, and I would say, to be honest with you, because I meet actors all the time. I talk to actors all the time. I don't get intimidated by actors. I don't get starstruck. I don't get any of that. But when I met Kate, oh my gosh, I was a little intimidated. And she was just being herself. She was signing my autograph or whatnot. And,
Yeah. Yeah. She was.
she exudes confidence, which I love. Lawrence, did you want to chime in?
Well, I mean, I was gonna chime in to the point. Well, now that I know, now you mentioned it, I mean, I want to go back to your history, for your time in the military, that women were not allowed to serve or on ships or let a man a squadron. So, I mean, yeah, this is a big upset. I mean, sure, the fourth movie sure brought a woman captain, but this is actually a full-time captain, not just for a one and done deal. This is just for the entire series. So, I mean, I was like amazed. I was like, yes, finally, let's get some women in power now.
Yeah.
And it opened the possibility for a lot of women captains
Sure.
because, for example, in New Worlds, when Hanson's character dies, no, not Hanson, Stachwick.
Oh, you're talking about Star
Oh, yeah,
Trek
Todd.
Picard
Picard.
Yes,
and Todd Stashwick.
he gave
7 of 9.
command to 7 of 9,
Yeah.
a Borg out of all people.
But another strong female role.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you're absolutely right. I joined the military a few years after Voyager started premiering, and at the time, at the moment that I joined the military, women were still not allowed to serve on naval warships.
Right.
So when I got there, it was an all-male crew. Now, shortly after I got there, Congress passed the rule saying that women can now serve on combat ships. So we started getting waves of women on the ship as part of the crew. But in 1995, when Janeway walked on the bridge of that ship for the first time on network television, that was groundbreaking. And I think a very wonderful way. I'm glad that they did that.
Yeah, and it wasn't distracting.
No,
Because now,
it was just normal.
when I'm sure when women started to become part of the Navy, that at first it was probably a huge distraction to all the men that were there having a female on ship when they haven't seen a female in so long. You know what I mean?
When they don't have when
But
they don't serve with
then
them.
Janeway wasn't that way.
Right.
She walked in and everybody was like, "Yes, ma'am."
Yeah.
Boom. And that was
Lawrence,
it.
did you have anything else before I move on? I see your hand, Robot.
No, I was gonna say that we already have like, and it actually applied. Well, I was gonna add to your history that, oh yeah, we do. Like Lisa Franchetti is one, and of course other female in all six branches of the military. So let's add to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Very true. Risa, would you like to chime in? Hi. You don't want to chime in, Risa?
Your hand was up.
Yeah, she had her hand up for me.
Okay. All right. If you think of what it was, I'll come back to you. Let me go to Sammy and then Robot. Sammy?
Okay. So basically, if you guys
we
know
were
about
muted.
455 Production Company, they're doing a documentary that's supposed to be out not long from now for Voyager. And they have a lot of information. People went to the LA premiere that are in Star Trek Family and LA Away Team and other premieres that they had. And they're going to do a little fine tuning of it and switch it around a bit after they get more people to review it. But they do have a lot of information and behind the scenes footage that no one has ever seen of the scenes and acting of what the first actress did playing Kate's character. So it's supposedly really, really good, and the actors gave permission for it to be in there. So
Nice.
Oh,
And
cool.
just so you know, one of our panels this weekend is with the producer and co-director David Zapone of the To the Journey documentary. That's tomorrow. He's going to come on and do a Q&A with us about the documentary process, and he's got some special clips from the documentary he's going to show us. So outside of the backer premiere they did at the theaters 3 weeks ago, we'll be the first to see them. So
I knew he was going to be on there, but I didn't know we were getting sneak peeks. That's cool.
I'm in that documentary.
You are? Who said that?
You're
am.
in that?
Yes, I
Awesome.
am.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll look for it.
Statue.
Mary. Wow.
Statue.
Oh, good
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
That's
right,
correct.
the
And
Janeway
they
statue.
interviewed us on the 2020 cruise. And yeah,
Did you
they
help with the
interviewed us
creation
about
of
the
the
statue.
statue?
What?
Did you help with the creation of the statue, or?
I was on the 2019 cruise, Star Trek cruise, and I introduced myself as being from Bloomington, Indiana,
Oh,
future
wow.
home of Captain Janeway. And the lady said, "That's nice, but do you have a statue there for her like they do for Kirk in Iowa?" And I said, "No, but we should have." And when I returned home, I formed the Janeway Collective shirt there.
Wow.
And we raised $57,000. And we got permission from CBS, and that was not easy. And the city of Bloomington gave us a really sweet spot on the Beeline Trail, which is a walking bike path that runs all the way through Bloomington, right next to the Wonder Lab, which is a children's science museum. And so
I
they
saw
gave
the
us that
video
sweet
of
spot on that
Kate.
trail.
Yeah.
We unveiled the statue in October of 2020. And Kate came to visit us in October of 2022. That's when I got to spend the whole afternoon with her and have dinner with her.
Oh, that's
But,
amazing.
yeah, it was a pretty amazing journey.
congratulations. I
Thank
mean,
you.
it's a great homage to her and to the writers and directors and everyone who's been involved in Star Trek, because when you look at it, that is someone to look up to, that type of
Oh
character.
yeah, she
person
influenced me. And I even learned more about it through the journey because I met so many people that were like, "Oh my God, yes, she needs a statue because she influenced me on this. I would never be doing this if it wasn't for her." And she influenced leaders into leadership positions, astronauts.
She did.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how we pitched it, and that's the reason we decided she wanted a statue. She should have a statue. And there's another little fact. There was no year for Captain Janeway in Star Trek canon anywhere when we went to build that statue. So I did research reading Jerry Taylor's book about Captain Janeway when she was young, and did some math, and I came up with the year 2336. And then when they came out with Captain Janeway's autobiography in 2020, the 25th anniversary, they used my year 2336. I made Star Trek canon.
Wow, that is
Wow.
amazing. And you're right, there was no date for her.
Right.
And then Jerry Taylor did create that character. She came up with the idea for it to be a woman.
Oh yeah,
So,
and she did not allow her to be sexualized.
Right, exactly. If you have a link to Jerry Taylor's book, please put it in the chat. I'd love to check that.
Yes.
I'll see
And also, please put a link in chat or on the the Facebook page about the statue and the group that you run, because if people want to go see that, it's a great thing to go. I haven't seen it yet, and I've been meaning to, but it's
I will
definitely on
definitely
my
put both our website and our Facebook in there for you.
Nice. All right. Let me go to Melanie, who's been very patient, and then I'll go to Carlos. Melanie?
Okay, I took notes so I could rattle it off real quick. I Googled Kate Mulgrew, and her birthday is the same as mine, April 29th, 1955. And I'm April 29th, 1957, so that's nice. I had forgotten how the Voyager got zapped to the Delta Quadrant, so I want to see that again. And she was famous from Ryan's Hope, and of course, Orange is the New Black. And she don't even speak Russian, but she got into the accent. She was brilliant. And what else? Oh, and they did show female captains on The Next Generation, but it was just like a guest star thing. You know, a guest.
They did.
And I'm in Modesto, which is the future home of Bradward Boimler, and I'd like to make a statue.
Hey, you need to talk to Mary Beth about the process.
This will get me caught up. Yeah,
It is a full-time second job, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I remember
Unpaid.
Voyager when it first came out, and I lived in Lolita, a few miles south of Eureka, up in the Redwoods, Eureka, California. Now I'm in Modesto as of 2010. I miss Humboldt County.
Beautiful.
Warm here. We have seasons. Humboldt County, it's damp all year long, but we got the tallest trees on the planet.
Yeah.
Eureka, is that up by Weed,
I gotta
California?
remember, how did they get to the Delta Quadrant?
Well, we're going to find out because we're going to watch the episode about.
All right, so yeah, woo, and happy birthday.
We're going to watch the episode in about 20 minutes, so we'll find out how they get to the Delta
We
Quadrant.
can talk about it, but I've forgotten a lot of details.
I just finished. I literally at the end of December, I just finished a complete rewatch of Voyager, and I was trying to push through it and binge it because as part of the Voyager 30 celebration, I was going to have a binge watch challenge for Voyager, which you had to watch all 172 episodes in 6 weeks, and it ended up not formalizing because I had all this other stuff going on. But I did something like that with DS9's anniversary 2 years ago. But yeah, we'll be watching some great episodes this month on
There's
the watch
a local
party. So.
station that plays all of the treks every different night of the week.
Nice. Very
It's
nice. Can't go wrong with that. Carlos and then Risa. Carlos.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, so going back to Lise, what she mentioned, I saw the the British actress who played her, and she just was not. She just did not do a good job. The directors even asked her at some point, "Do you really want to do this job?" Because they weren't getting what they needed from her.
Yeah.
The way she played the character was kind of not a person of authority, more like a laid back person, not somebody that you would honestly feel that had the authority of a
Yeah.
captain. She just came off the wrong way. And the way Mulgrew ended up with the role, she nailed it as far as all of us are concerned, because she ended up taking the role after the British actress basically they filmed a little bit of it and obviously didn't go well, and then they decided to bring Mulgrew back, and then like I said, she took the role. So that's a little history on that. But yes, it's just an amazing character, and the character development on her during the series was amazing. And like I said, there's 2 episodes when we get a chance I want to talk to you about briefly. But that's what I got to say.
Awesome. Very cool.
Oh, I want the shirts too. I want the
Well, yeah,
shirts.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
that was my question too. That was not going to be my question.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, let me pull out the shirt just to show it to you. If I can find it.
My wife probably will kill me because I need another shirt. Like I need a hole in the head, but I still want.
Oh, you can never have two.
It's probably out of budget.
Okay, so is it going to load for me?
Oh.
Pardon? Not someone said my name. Never mind.
Okay,
Sammy.
so this is the shirt. As you can see, it's the shirt that I'm wearing right now. This is the front,
Mm-hmm.
and then this is the back.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, that's cool.
Very
And
cool.
because we're raising money for charity for the Hollywood Food Coalition, if you look at the bottom, there is the QR code that you can scan to actually donate directly to the Hollywood Food Coalition. So you can wear this shirt around and be happy that you have a nice anniversary Voyager shirt, and also be able to spread the charity and have people walk up to you and just donate right there. So
the code can work for a very long time, like forever, right? As long as
yes.
As long as
Until you know how shirts break down over time after you wash them times. But yeah, the code works, and so I'm investigating making those available probably as early as Monday for you all. Every purchase of every shirt, a good portion of the proceeds of the shirt goes directly to John Billingsley's charity. The rest goes to the company that makes the shirt. So I think that's a pretty
that's
good
amazing.
deal. Yeah.
Great job, you guys. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. As is these wonderful prizes we're going to be giving away if you donate during the next 2.5 hours.
That one.
Yeah. Risa, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, sorry, we were muted unknowingly the last time. I mean, so go ahead.
Okay, so I don't remember seeing the first episode. I do usually give Star Trek slack because it usually takes a good portion of a season or two to really get going. The one thing that I do remember that sort of turned me off about it at one point, I don't feel this way anymore, was that I think it was the Kazon was attacking Voyager, and they were going after the secondary processors. And then when they were going to take the ship, Janeway wanted to do the auto-destruct, and it wouldn't work because the secondary processors were out. And she seemed like surprised or didn't realize it. And I felt like, wait a minute. If you're the captain, you ought to know how something like that works. And for quite a while, that turned me off. But as I watched more, and I saw, like, well, really, she's a strong character, and that was just one episode. I just thought I'd mention that. And those shirts look great. It'd be great to take them on the cruise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. And for those of you that are going on the cruise, if I'm able to get them on sale on Monday, they will be on sale until probably Friday. And if we meet our minimum order by Friday, which I don't think we'll have a problem with, they will be produced and shipped to you before the cruise. So for those of you that are going on the cruise, this would be a great shirt to wear on the ship.
yeah.
There is a tank top variant. So that's, just you guys are going to be in the Caribbean.
Yep. Yeah.
Warm.
Are you going to go on that, Mark?
I was originally going on this cruise, Lisa and I, but we ended up having to back out.
Okay.
But our plan is to go on the next cruise, the 2026 cruise, because we are renewing our vows with John Billingsley on the cruise.
Oh yeah.
So now, if you're going on
Beautiful.
that cruise in 2026, you are all welcome to our ceremony, and we would love to have you there.
Yeah, this is going to be the last one for a while, unfortunately. It's it's not cheap, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Yes, my understanding is they renew vows every year, but as like a big group in one room, and then they renew everybody.
Right.
We are going to try to, and our intention is to save and rent one of the little conference rooms that they have there that they offer that we can sign in and rent, and then have it done just us with John Billingsley. He said he would love to do it, but just us, and make it.
We should get a cabana in one of the ports and do it on the beach.
There you go.
Yeah,
That would be nice.
but what I'm trying to say is we're trying to do it
Solo.
solo.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Solo.
if you take it off the ship, you've got less of a chance of upsetting ECP.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to
You don't
upset
upset ECP. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, not at all. We've actually had a really good working relationship with them, so I want to keep that.
Right.
All right. We have about 10 minutes left before we start the pilot episode, or the premiere episode of Caretaker. Just going around the room, what's your favorite part of early Voyager? Your favorite character, your favorite storyline, your favorite alien race? What do you have a favorite of? Let me do Carlos, and then I'll do you. Carlos?
All right. So there's 2 episodes I just watched recently, and give me a second because I got to bring up a picture of it. The first one was Resistance. That one was a great episode. It was a tearjerker, and it obviously dealt with a gentleman who lost both his wife and his daughter, and he sees Janeway as his daughter for some reason, and he basically the planet is ruled by these militant group basically, and his daughter only got so far, and his wife was captured or arrested, and he tried several times to save her, and he realized that he failed, but he couldn't deal with that. And so at some point he sees Janeway as his daughter, and he's kind of delusional about that, but he does help her a lot. And it was just kind of a tearjerker episode because Mulgrew, she was really involved in the relationship with him, and she really cared for him, and it was kind of a heartbreaking episode.
For the caretaker, she cared for the caretaker. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah. Again, for the Resistance, I don't remember the character's name, but
he was played by Joel Grey.
Joel Grey.
I remember that. I remember the guest star was Joel Grey.
Yeah, he did such an amazing job, and he saved that other guy who was part of the Resistance. That was a powerful episode. Mark, I like your input on that one. And then the other one was Prototype. with and that one was amazing episode where she was going against the Prime Directive and trying to help basically I guess an android group to procreate essentially, and that was a great episode as well. And then I forgot the character's name. He was what, half Romulan and half Balana. So
Taurus.
Balana had, after she created life, so to speak, then she's like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I have just done to find out that she created life, but not for the intention that was supposed to happen. It was and again, she went against the Prime Directive. But Mark, I liked your input on those two episodes. But like I said, Resistance was one that really touched my heart because it was kind of a heavy emotional episode towards the
That's a
end.
really, really, really good episode for sure.
Yes.
You were talking about how B'Elanna, half Romulan, or sorry, I did it, half Klingon, half human. How she had this episode where she sort of went against her Starfleet policy, her Starfleet, training, and helped these people out. We actually have a discussion panel on February 2nd. That's a Sunday. It's called Sticking to Starfleet Ideals. And it's all about these little instances throughout the show where they face moral conundrums and whether they stick to their Starfleet ideals and training or whether they do what they have to do to survive the situation or to get further home. I think that's going to be a great discussion. So bring that up in that panel, if you can remember that, because that's going to be a really strong conversation about, how did they bend the rules? How did they break the rules? Or did they, or like Janeway, who very much was a stalwart for, sticking to their ideals. You said you had a favorite.
No, I forgot.
You forgot?
No,
All right.
my brain went, whoop.
Let me know if you think about it.
Okay.
Trixie
Wait.
says. Go ahead, Carlos.
Don't finish. I wanted you to, talk a little bit more about the prototype episode. I know you. So B'Elanna, again, I'm kind of reiterating it, but the fact that she saved that android that was basically in space, and then she was, trying to, regenerate him, and the technology that made him was amazing to her, and she kind of like gave birth to him, or actually when she made another one, and obviously she kind of got away with making a new one because she was captive, and then only to find out that there was two robotic races that were trying to annihilate each other after their makers were deceased, or basically they turned on their makers and killed them. And then the smart part was that the makers only made their power sources only use for one instead of for many. So they each one had basically a special code for each robot. So they couldn't duplicate each other. And then for her to make a power source that was interchangeable is where she realized, oh my God, what have I done? Creating life when she was going against the Prime Directive. And then after the fact, having to destroy what she created, after bringing even Janeway had a conversation with her, how difficult it had to be for you to bring life and then take it away. Basically kind of pay God.
Yeah. It's a great point, and we as passionate Trekkies like to debate the Tuvixes of the world, but this is another great example of the moral conundrum that she faces. At first, she thinks she's doing a good thing, and then when she realizes that she's really not, she has to face the possibility of taking away the life that she just created, or help them to create. And so it's a wonderful storyline to talk about, and definitely will come in handy for that later conversation on February 2nd. And Trixie mentioned not Trixie, Melanie mentioned in chat that she likes it when Torres was she liked it when Torres told the sentient androids about Data and about like the individuality of Data and his freedoms as an android. And Bess says that robot looks a lot like Isaac in Orville. Yes, that's true. Does a lot. And then back to Trixie. Trixie said her favorite part of the early Voyager seasons were Kess. She is such a calming, wise influence on everyone, especially the Doctor, and that is very true. I agree with you. Mercedes.
I'm not looking at the chat, but that was exactly what I was going to say is Cass. Because of her calming demeanor and her monotone way. And I'm not that way because you can always hear excitement in my voice, but I wish I was like Cass. And yes, I was going to mention how she was always looking out for the Doctor. And, you know, when she went to Janeway in one of those beginning episodes, that he is part of her crew and should be respected as a crew member. And also that episode where Zimmerman first made an appearance and the Doctor that we know, his program had to be rebooted, so he lost all his memories. She was standing up for him in that episode as well. So I love that character so much, and I don't think she gets enough attention. And whenever you see a picture of the cast, there aren't enough times where you see one of the beginning ones with Kess. It's always, with Seven. So I think she needs more attention.
I agree with you. I think they spent a fair amount of time developing Kess in the first and second season, and then after that, I felt like they just stopped so much. And Kess really added a different flavor to the crew, right? She was an outsider, just like Neelix, and she was young at that. She was basically a child, essentially, for Ocampan standards. But her growth and her development was like sort of like a rocket taking off for 2 seasons, and they really put a lot into that character. And I thought it was sad that she ended up leaving the show. I really think that.
Yeah, in that episode where that alien takes over her consciousness and you see such, I think her strong personality, just her acting. You could see her acting because she was the complete opposite. And then to find out after the show aired how young she was when she started, the actress, I think she was only 19 years old.
Wow.
That just amazes me. That she really seemed like she had it all together. She wasn't like, at 19, you're still a teenager, and she was not a teenager.
She definitely did not keep it together, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Very sad what happened to her, but Kierce, for the last thought before we go into our episode watch. Kierce.
I think the reason we don't see as much of Kess in the third season, and the reason she's not as heavily promoted in the third season, and we don't have as many pictures of her in the promo literature from the middle of the second season and beyond, is because, her struggles, the actress's struggles were developing. There's interviews and there's afterwards interviews, and there's afterwards discussions that Jennifer, I think her last name is pronounced Lean. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Lean or Lime. Lean, okay. Jennifer Lean's personal struggles were developing and becoming more apparent. And some of the producers or some of the people involved with Voyager were trying to intervene to help her, but she was becoming more erratic on set. And she was just really struggling, and she was unable to continue.
If you talk to
I hope she finds her happily ever after.
Right. If you talk to the 455 producers, they said no one on set knew what she was going through. Something happened, and she was going through stuff in her personal life, and they tried to ask her, and they sat her in the producer's office, and she just sat there saying nothing and just cried. So it's like she wasn't giving information to anyone. And the scene where you see where she leaves with Janeway, that last scene that they have where Kate's actually crying, she's really crying because they knew she was going to leave the show, and she was actually not, probably they weren't going to hear much from her again. They knew something was serious.
Yeah.
Very true.
And
Yeah.
that happens a lot of times when people have those kinds of problems, unfortunately, where they don't tell you because there's a lot of shame in that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think, leaving the show is sad for us, but I think that she was able to find some help after that. I know that she still struggled with stuff afterwards, but her presence was definitely missed for the remainder of the show. So one of the things that I really loved about the concept of Voyager Caretaker was the struggle, the confrontation between Janeway and the Maquis crew. And I don't think that they explored that enough through the early part of season one. The conflict between Chakotay and Janeway, or between B'Elanna and Carrie, in engineering, or any of those characters. That was such a unique dynamic to have that conflict to start the show. And then, I could have accepted that by the end of season one, maybe they were all one united crew and they were back in Starfleet and all this stuff. But within a show and a half, they basically forgot about the fact that they're Maquis, except for the occasional reference. And then the one episode where Tuvok puts them through the training, the Maquis crew. But I love that. I thought it was a really great concept. So.
Yeah, I wish they would have explored that a lot more, like for a whole season, or maybe even like throughout the series, and not just had them like be like the Brady Bunch, where they don't like each other in the premiere, and then 6 seasons of happily ever after, where the biggest conflict is, should we, go to this talent show or that talent show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they would have explored that marquee thing.
Maquis.
Yeah, a little bit more. Because when I saw it, I knew that there was obviously bad cop, good cop type of thing.
Yeah.
But at one point I thought, wait, is this the mirror universe, or is this that they used to be this way, or it wasn't too well defined with me, because they didn't go into deep.
Yeah.
Because when I first started seeing it, unfortunately, I didn't start watching it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So all this time I thought, oh my God, Chakotay and Janeway, what an awesome couple.
Yeah.
I never knew they hated each other at the very beginning.
They didn't hate each other. They were just polar opposites. One, they weren't enemies. Her mission was to track him down and arrest him, but they didn't hate each other.
Well, they were enemies. She was in charge of getting the
he was an outlaw. He was an outlaw, but I don't think they were. Does anybody think they were straight enemies, or Donna?
I think they were just, he was an outlaw.
Yeah.
Not that they were enemies.
And she was Law and Order.
I think
that's right.
She wanted to capture him.
Yeah.
So if you see any Law and Order is going to get this bad guy regardless.
Yeah.
That bad guy is their enemy in a different
We're not talking about Khan and Kirk here. We're talking about some dude that she's probably never even heard of outside of a Starfleet security briefing. And, they're trying to track down this Maquis cell that's being led by Chakotay, and her job is to arrest them. Like, they're not like straight enemies, right?
No, not straight enemies, but she didn't like him from what she heard he had done.
So I think what happened was they developed the Maquis as an idea that we're going to have this conflict, but then they were getting such kickback from DS9 that DS9 was all conflict, and there was a push to make Star Trek Voyager more like the original Star Trek, where it was the universe where everybody's happy and everybody gets along and there are no enemies except for outside of Starfleet. So that's why they kind of abandoned Maquis thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest,
Sounds about right.
The Maquis was still a new concept in Star Trek. I mean, we got 2 episodes in the Next Generation where they essentially equated the Maquis with the Bajora, which was an early form of the Bajorans. And then in DS9, which is now on the show on the air for 2 seasons before Voyager, they started to really explore that Maquis concept. So they're really still developing this, and then Voyager takes it and really amps up the concept of what the Maquis are. And so I felt that they should have explored it a little more.
Oh, me too.
But
I thought so.
yeah. All right. That is the end of this segment of Voyager 30. We are going to start the episode watch for the premiere episode, Caretaker. All right. Welcome back, Star Trek family. That was the pilot episode of Star Trek Voyager, originally aired January 16th of 1995. Such a great episode, and I'm interested to hear people's thoughts on it. We have about 15 or 20 minutes or so before we have to proceed to the next segment. So if you have any comments you'd like to make about this episode, about the pilot, raise your hand either visually on camera, I see you, or use the reactions button at the bottom of your screen. There's a button for raise hand and lower hand, and I will call on you in turn. Risa, I see your hand up.
Hi, we had just been rewatching Voyager, getting ready for the cruise. And it was really interesting seeing the pilot again. We're in the middle of season 6. And to see the character development of all the different characters, that it's really neat to be able to see that evolution, throughout that you don't know is coming now at this point. But I really enjoyed seeing it again. Yeah.
Do you have a character in particular that you latched onto with that character development?
Well, gosh, there were several
many.
actually. Well, B'Elanna, I think, is one of them too. How her transition and how she became accepting and became part of the crew, which was a big step for her. And even with Neelix and how he, like when you first saw him on that on his ship in the middle of the debris field, I mean, he's totally different on Voyager and continues to really develop hugely during the rest of the series. So yeah, it's been really enjoying rewatching it because we hadn't seen it in decades, and now to see it again, and yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really good episode, and I agree with you that the sort of the fast-paced, action-packed, wild ride of this pilot was specifically done for 2 reasons. One, because they wanted to do something different than the last pilot, which was the more psychological emissary from DS9. And then 2, they had so many delays in production for this pilot episode of Voyager that they really had to shoot at a breakneck pace and to kind of catch up. In fact, at one point they were 4 weeks behind on filming. So you really tend to get a lot of character development packed into this first 2-episode arc here. So I love it. Lisa.
I have to say, this is the first time I see it, and it caught my attention. It was so action-packed, and just when I first saw Janeway, now I understand everybody's opinion on her. It was so commanding. And I think I also I think her voice has a lot to do with her character. Because it is not high pitch or low pitch. It is just like straightforward and strong, and she didn't have to do much to show that power that she actually has as a captain. Um, the way that they all connected. I mean, they're trying to capture the Marquis, and yet the Marquis joins them just because the caretaker, took one of each captive. And then how Neelix, oh my God, what a genius guy. He tricked everybody. He knew Cass from the very beginning. All he wanted to do was, rescue her. I'm like, you go. Like, wow. And everybody's connection, it's amazing how it just felt right.
Yeah.
I was so excited about it. I even told him when he said, we need to start walking upstairs. I'm like, wait, I thought this is a part 2. And he says, it's already been in part 1.
Yeah, you were so sucked in, you didn't realize it was a 2-part episode.
And I'm like, already? No, come on. I want to see more.
You wanted more. Yeah.
It was really exciting. I loved it.
I particularly like the bath scene with Neelix. I think that was hilarious, where he was like, spitting out the water and like in the bathtub. And
That was great.
I'm going to go to Kirsch next, but before I do that, let me just say welcome to all the people that joined us while we were watching that episode. Welcome to the Star Trek Family Broadcast and Voyager 30. We're very glad to have you here. As I noted in chat, we are also raising money for charity. There's a link and a QR code in the chat. If you can donate, please consider donating. We are giving away Voyager-related prizes, so if you make a donation within the next hour and 15 minutes, your name will go into a drawing for the very first 2 TV guides featuring Voyager ever, and these we'll pull a name at the end of the evening and announce a winner. So,
You?
Yeah, Donna was there before. Yeah. Kirst, please, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, to tie in with what Risa said about the character development, the characters who I see really developing are Tom Paris, especially. He goes from being this angry man who's, got this huge chip on his shoulder to being this upstanding, morally right, really, I don't want to give too many spoilers because I see in the comments that somebody has not watched this series. So let's just say he has the most character development. And second, I would say would be maybe Harry, who we see with character development.
Yeah.
And we don't see really anything of him in this episode, but the Doctor has a huge amount of character development. And the one thing I noticed is in the very last scene, as Janeway is giving her speech about, 2 crews are uniting as one, and I'm making Chakotay my first officer. As she's passing in front of Chakotay, he's already got the hots for her. She notices him about as much as she notices the railing on the bridge. But wow, he has so got the hots for her.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people who really thinks that, at some point in history, those two have really got to get together. I think that those two are perfect for each other. I think that 7 and no, I can't put that spoiler out there, but there's a certain thing that happens in season 7 that I will never forgive the writers of Voyager for. I think that is a crime against all Star Trek fans. And that is about as bad as fudge sauce on sushi. So I will say that. Yeah. Yeah, I will say that. And that is, And okay, I'm trying not to use spoilers because I do recognize that there's one person.
Talking to piggybacking on Kurz, yeah. Harry is way overdue of a promotion.
Well, not right now. He just started.
This. And look what he did. I mean, come on. He is definitely way overdue.
And I like how Tom has already adopted Harry.
Yes. Their connection was, yes, from the very get-go. I loved it. I loved it.
You see Tom's adopted Harry.
I find it very fascinating that Tom and Harry start out this contentious relationship at first, just the same way that Miles and Julian Bashir did in DS9, where they're sort of confrontational at first, and then I mean we can understand that from a young Ensign Kim because he's listening to all of the older officers talk badly about Tom's character. But very quickly towards the end of the episode, we start to see that there's a connection there. There's a bond, and then we see that develop into a friendship, and I love that.
Yes, I thought
And
for
Kirk
sure
and
that
Spock.
B'Elanna was going to go for Harry, since Harry was there from the get-go, and not Tom.
Yeah.
But I'm glad she went for Tom.
Yeah.
And Spock and McCoy had that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But theirs never really solidified into that friendship the same way.
And how do you pronounce her name? It's B'Elanna.
Yeah, it's B'Elanna.
It's B'Elanna.
It's B'Elanna.
No, it's B'Elanna,
Yeah.
according to her.
I think it's
all
a
right.
difference between like French and English. Where you pronounce the name
Maybe.
pronounce in English. She probably gave it the Klingon pronunciation.
Klingon, I like it. Let's go with that. That's a good excuse. I love it. Let me run to Denny and then Lawrence, and we'll see if we have any others after that. Denny? Hi, Denny.
Hey, guys. I just really like this two-parter. It really has a movie feel to it, and you get to see a lot of action-packed scenes and what these characters' cores are really about. In this two-part episode, and whenever you get that kind of introduction to characters, it makes you connect to them a lot more. It makes you connect to them a lot more than when you get like a cold start. So it really feels like a movie to me. It's 90 minutes basically, and you get this great introduction to all the characters, and there's some good comedy in it, and there's some good tension moments in there. You get the contention between Chakotay and Tom. You get the contention between Harry being the very obvious Harry being straight out of Starfleet Academy, with him in DS9 with his dealings with Quark, and then of course Paris kind of comes and saves him, and then Harry just kind of attaches himself to Tom at that point, and then he finds out like who Tom is, and Tom doesn't hold back. And I every time I watch this episode, it's funny to me because it's the guy that plays Tom Paris plays the same character in that one Next Generation episode, and when you're watching this, if you remember that episode, you're going, oh, it's the same guy. Did they change his name? And then they change the story, so they kind of lure everybody, carrot in hand, like ha 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 ha. So yeah, so they kind of play like he's Nick Locorno for a moment, and then they're like, nah, it's a different guy.
You know why he wasn't Nick Locorno? Because they wanted to make. It's because the author wouldn't give up the rights to use the character.
Well, I heard that it was that they would have to pay the writer, and they didn't want to have to pay the writer. The writer would get royalty every time they used the character.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I think the truth is somewhere in between that. Yeah, they tried to get permission from the author or the writer, and the writer said no. They had wanted a certain royalty pay scale or something, and they said they weren't going to pay that. So the truth is probably somewhere in between that. But yeah, they ended up having to change that name. In fact, I was quite shocked to find out that many of the characters' names were completely different in the initial versions of the script. In fact, Janeway's first name was Elizabeth at one point. Elizabeth Janeway.
Yes.
And then it got changed to Nicole, and then back to Catherine. Neelix's original name was Felix, like the cat, Felix the cat.
Oh, man.
Harry Kim's name was Jay Asako.
Oh my
Osaka,
gosh.
J
Awful names.
Osaka, which is really weird. But
Oh,
yeah,
And
Not
and
really.
so
Locarno is a city in France, just like Paris.
there you go.
oh,
See,
Oh
that's why
wow.
we see
Oh
that
yeah. Oh
resurface in
wow.
the episode where author, where the doctor writes that novel, and Paris's name is changed to some other city in France, I think. But yeah,
Nice.
same thing.
Right, for sure. And we get, of course, we get the Maquis coming in together. So you get a little bit of the strife between the original crew and the Maquis kind of trying to deal with each other a little bit. And we get all of it. We get first contact, we get action, we get the resolution to the first contact, we get, this great setup to the series, and it's like compared to DS9 had a cold start compared to Voyager. Voyager is just like, here's everything all at once, guys, and they just throw it at us, and it's 99 miles an hour through this first two episodes, which I always really liked.
And see, I thought they had a very similar start to me. Like I thought that it was like exactly the same. So it was like the same kind of like this is the premise. So it was established Voyager is a different show, but it mirrored how like the same with the Star Wars banner and everything is the same way they started DS9. I'm glad they dropped that though.
Yeah.
Mark, you're still on mute.
Mark.
I'm back. Hello. I do know how to operate technology. Marseille was the name that Paris was called in that Hollow novel, by the way. I just remembered it. But back to what Donna was talking about. The DS9 pilot, again, was thought to be very psychological because of the way that it was dealing with the prophets and all of these high-minded concepts. And so when Michael Piller, Terry Taylor, and Rick Berman started to write the script for this pilot for Voyager, they wanted a wild ride. They wanted an action-packed adventure. And that's essentially what we got for almost 90 minutes, right? So it's very interesting the way that the two pilots contrast with each other.
Yeah.
Let me go to Lawrence, and we might have time for one more comment before we move to the next segment of the day. But go ahead, Lawrence.
Oh, I just read that like back onto the point where Michael Berman wanted the Maquis crews to wear Starfleet uniforms, but Piller didn't want it. That was the initial idea, but he actually lost the fight. So it ended up getting everybody Maquis in Starfleet uniforms. And the premises of it, what I see is they want to make it as one unified team, a Starfleet crew, because you're not just even though you left Starfleet, you still got to put on the uniform, but you gotta have a provisional rank just to be part of like one cohesive unit. So, and of course, the last part was the speech. That was Janeway's. That was my favorite. That was gonna be my favorite moment.
It's a great moment.
And I'm glad he lost. I'm glad he lost the bet because Chakotay, let's face it, he looks really good in uniform.
Yeah, he does.
He looks sharp in uniform. When he came out with that, I mean, that red jacket was so fitted.
The command uniform, yeah.
Yes, he looked really good.
It was actually a source of contention, Lawrence. Thank you for bringing it up. But it was a source of contention between the three writers who sort of tag team wrote this episode.
He has the uniform. Go, Lauren.
Oh, yeah, go, Lawrence.
I'll tell you.
So they all agreed they wanted the conflict between the two crews, the Maquis and the Starfleet. But they were not in agreement about how to proceed once they got past the obstacle of the caretaker, whether they integrated the crew into one and they all wore Starfleet uniforms, or whether they partially integrated into the Starfleet crew but wore Maquis uniforms. And so that was something. In fact, I didn't know this. There was originally only supposed to be 3 Maquis, period.
How many are there?
One of them was Tuvok, who originally was supposed to be Maquis, not Starfleet undercover.
Really?
And then Nick Locarno, which turned into Tom Paris, was supposed to be one of them, and then Belana Torres. That's it. Only three, and they were called the Misfits for the longest time until they settled on
And then they
the
added
Maquis.
Chakotay instead of
Chakotay was added later, and so they added a whole bunch of other Maquis as well. But
wow.
I
I
thought
love
that
the
was interesting.
changes, though.
What's that, Sammy?
I love the changes in what they decided to do with the names and everything and the character development. Like, if it went the other way, I don't think it would have been as successful.
Yeah.
And I think originally too they wanted Tom Paris to have a relationship with Janeway, but then with the age difference, that was one of the reasons why they brought Chakotay on, because they thought it would be like pushing it too far to have a female captain and an age inappropriate relationship. So
Yeah, they said early on in the script writing process, the scene where Janeway goes to the prison in New Zealand to get Tom Paris. Uh, Originally in the script, they had Tom Paris being like inappropriately flirting with Janeway.
and I think he did. I think he
while
did
they
if
were,
you go back and look at it.
You can see it in his face.
but it was way worse, I'm sure, because they toned it down. I thought it was really interesting, a detail that they in the script, the original version, while they were strolling and talking, they were supposed to stop at a hollow replicator stand to get hot dogs and eat hot dogs while they were walking and talking. And that obviously got cut out, but
Good
that
thing
was a
they did.
weird little detail to put into that script.
That would be odd.
Yeah. Let's see. I have two comments from Melanie and I think Astra, who commented on the fact that there was a lot of like location shooting. There was a lot of different sets and exterior places outside of the ship, and they had 7 total location shoots. 2 they had to redo. One of them was reused from a Next Generation set that was from an episode called The Final Mission, when Wesley Picard and Durgo get marooned on a desert planet. That was where the Kazon section was filmed. So it's very interesting. Let's see, what other comments do we have?
Oh my God.
Did Kate
10 inches of snow.
did Kate Mulgrew have something to do with Janeway not having a romantic? Not that I'm aware of.
That
I
is
don't
true.
know. Is it true? Okay,
Yeah,
I
I
did not know
heard
that.
in an interview the producers and the 455 team were talking about it, that she basically said it wouldn't be a good idea for them to actually have a relationship, and the tension between them, the sexual tension, and that would help the series last longer and even into like different iterations if they go and do like a remake like Prodigy and other things. So she still says it to this day in interviews that she said no and she didn't want it.
Mhm. I that's the first time I'm hearing that. So thank you for telling me. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
she thought it would muddy. She thought it would muddy the waters of her as a leader.
That's her.
Sure. Sure. As would any command capable officer who wanted to stay professional in her capacity, but still, or his or her capacity, but still be able to lead this crew. I mean, the fact that they're stranded away from everything, a family, they have no contact with Starfleet. They have, it's a pretty desperate situation to be in, and she has to maintain control of that. So, all right, let me go to Mercedes and then Bess for the last 2 comments of this segment, and then we will proceed to the next segment. Miss Mercedes.
Thank you, Mark. I noticed, well, I didn't watch this episode with you guys, but was it ever mentioned that the Maquis aren't wearing, even though they're in Starfleet uniform, they're not wearing the same pips as if you had attended Starfleet Academy on their collar? Is it ever explained what the Maquis is wearing and what it means?
Provisional
I'm
ranks.
sure
They
there
earn their
is.
tips right later.
They wear provision. They wear
It's
provisional
mentioned
ranks.
later in
Yes.
the series. I just don't want to say anything because it kind of spoils the scene.
Okay. So yeah, it's something to do with the provisional. Like provisionally, you're given this rank, but you have to show that you've earned it or that you can carry out the duties and mission. We're provisionally putting, just like Lieutenant or rather Ensign Tom Paris. Tom Paris is given a provisional rank to serve on the ship. So Yeah. Does that answer the question, I hope?
Well, what season do they mention it?
It's in season 1.
Everywhere.
It's probably
Okay.
in the next coming, the first
All right.
couple episodes.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right, Miss Bess, for the last thought of this segment. Hi, Bess.
Hi, everybody. Wow, last thought. Okay, I just wanted to say that I also loved the Neelix and Tuvok moment, and Neelix in the bath was adorable and hilarious. And I forgot that that Tuvok was the first Starfleet officer Neelix meets when he gets on board. And of course, we know the evolution of their relationship all the way down to the end. So I thought that that was fun that they kind of start together and they end together. The other thing I wanted to say was I was surprised how close they came to finding a way home before they decide to destroy the caretaker's array. They get so close. Tuvok is like, we found it, we can fix it, it'll just take several hours. And it's like, oh no, the Kazon are on our heels and they want to take it over and they must be stopped because otherwise they'll use it to destroy the Okapa. And it's a really, I forgot how big of a decision that was at that moment and how close they came to being able to just go home. And the third thing I wanted to say, my final thought for the day, is I appreciate you guys saying that Kate Mulgrew actually said that it should not be a romantic thing between her and Tom Paris. And that makes so much sense for a woman playing the role of a leader in 1990s American television.
You mean to go
That was still a rare thing. And you can see by how much attention they paid just to her hair, trying to make sure she stayed authoritative enough. Things like her hair and how she's had 20 different hairstyles throughout the show. I think Kim Mulgrew was smart to say that because I think even if in the world of Starfleet it didn't undermine her authority, I think in the world of 20th century America, watching a rare female leader on television every night, it may have. And I think it was smart of Kate Mulgrew to put her foot down about that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. And as somebody who served with female officers in the military, on ships with a lot of men who weren't used to serving with women, where the things got a little weird sometimes, with the guy, girls doing things they shouldn't be doing. For her to actually put her foot down and say, no, as a command officer, as a professional, this is not right. And to really stand on her own two legs, on her own merit as a female captain, and come off with that strong demeanor. I really respect the decision.
Sorry, but
Oh my God, you scared me.
you guys have to remember she was engaged. So of course she's going to put her foot down and say, no, I can't do this.
Oh, sure.
She was engaged.
She was engaged to Mark. But even still, once they got to the Delta Quadrant and realized they weren't getting home for 70 years, she decided this is not going to happen.
Because she still loved the guy. She still had hopes to be home before the 70 years.
That's fair.
She said it towards the end. There's somebody out there that can bring us home sooner.
Yeah, maybe.
And they probably changed it once they decided they weren't going to make Tom Paris into a thing. They probably said, okay, well, instead she's already engaged and has a fella back home. I don't know that it happened that way, but that's a way that they could have switched it up once she talked them out of the Tom Paris thing.
Could have. I just a quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
I'm sorry. You also see in the one episode where I think it's Paris, where it's Tom and Harry who are talking, and they're like, all of us can have relationships because they're people under us or at our rank. Who can she have a relationship with? So it's okay for her to have a holodeck relationship. We should be happy for her.
Right.
Yeah.
Finally, she has a relationship.
It gets complicated. Yeah.
It does get complicated.
But they're happy for her to finally have someone.
Yeah, 7 years alone is.
I think the biggest, Reese, I see your hand there. Let me just make one final point. The biggest bombshell that I had when I was researching the the pre-production and the production and the development of this show, this episode, was that in the earliest forms of the script, Voyager got home at the end of Caretaker. And at some point during the development of the script, they said, well, what if? What if we don't get home at the end of the script? What if we stay in the Delta Quadrant for a 10-year voyage trying to get home and exploring? And it took a fundamental shift about halfway through the writing process. But early on, they were supposed to get home with the Caretaker. And that changed. So that was kind of groundbreaking to me because that's what this whole show is about, right? Is the journey.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Marisa.
Yeah, to your point, that's really fascinating. That would have changed the whole dynamic of the show had they gotten home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know what the show was supposed to have been with that? Do you know what the show was supposed to have been about?
It was just going to be another TNG-like show where they would return to the Alpha Quadrant and go on missions every other episode, and but again, at some point, Michael Piller was like, "Well, what if that changes everything?" And so, yeah.
I was kind of wondering, when Tuvok said, we could access this, it'll take several hours. But even if they were able to do that, would they have been able to have fixed it in a way to actually get them home, or would that technology be beyond their knowledge? Because clearly it was a very advanced technology. So I wonder if that was a factor as well. So maybe it wasn't so bad that they destroyed it, because maybe it wouldn't have worked. And then they wouldn't have had to feel bad about it. Anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. Would have they been able to use it?
Yeah.
And
well, the one thing that I didn't understand is, Malcolm, go ahead, please.
And the other thing is the Kazon ship crashed into part of it, so would it have still been functional then? That's the question.
That's true. That is true. One thing I didn't understand, and I just totally missed it, was when the Caretaker was dying, the Caretaker said, I've activated a self-destruct sequence for the array, right?
Yeah.
When Janeway goes back to the Voyager and they make the subsequent decision to destroy the array, why would they have to destroy the array if the self-destruct was... Did I miss something?
I think when the Kazon crashed into the array, it broke the link for the self-destruct, and so it no longer worked. I think when the
self-destruct got turned off somehow.
Got turned off.
Because the ship was damaged.
And couldn't get it back on.
Yeah, because
it was from damage. Okay.
Yeah, so the Caretaker said that he goes, they're going to have access to this.
Oh, I got you. I just missed it. I was writing down notes like crazy. You wouldn't believe how many notes. When I go do the research for these watch parties, I research everything from casting to production to costume to, and there were so many production notes and behind the scenes things for Caretaker. I didn't even get a quarter of the way through it before the end of the episode, and I was writing like a madman, wasn't I? I have 6 pages of notes here of different things. So,
oh damn!
Yeah, it was just damage.
Yeah,
Kazon damage. He was going to he was like, you got to get out. I'm going to self-destruct, and then the Kazon damage it. And I think that's the part where the holodeck that the Caretaker created disappears, and they can see the environment. And that's the point where they realize that the self-destruct has been damaged, and they can't go that route anymore.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. It does. I totally missed it. What do you guys think about? We've talked about Neelix. We've talked about Tom and Harry. We've talked about Tuvok a little bit. What do you guys think about the Ocampa and the Kazon and sort of that part of the story? The Kazon being protected on the Kazon homeworld, and did I say that? The Ocampa is being protected on the Ocampa homeworld by the Caretaker, and then the Kazon trying to get access to them. What do you guys think about that whole part of the story? Denny.
It just seemed that they were trying to set up the new bad guys, so they're obviously, trying to take over a planet that's cared for, and they're just the easiest. Yeah, Astra, totally marauders. They're easily set up as that. So there's very little else we need to know about them that sets them up as the antagonists, and it just made it real easy for the writers to go, look, there's the bad guys, because there's so much writing involved with setting up the crew and everything for Voyager and the Maquis, and then giving us the exposition on the Ocampans and the Caretaker and all that took so much time because we really don't get any extra information other than there's the bad guys, those are their ships, they kind of look like weird Klingons, and that's the bad guys. And then yeah, and so that's all we really get. So it was a clever way of establishing a villain without really giving us a lot of information about the villain. That, like I said earlier, this was kind of like the closest thing to a movie that we got with the first two-parter episode, and that's the only thing that they really didn't do is a lot of villain explanation and exposition on them. So we got short sticked on that side a little bit, but man, did we get some good action and everything else.
Definitely, for sure.
Now, talking about bad hair day, boy.
Yeah, you want to talk about bad hair days? Let me show you this. This is the Kazon from the Ocampan homeworld.
Poor guy.
And the wig obviously has hair in it and everything, but I was reading in the research, the way they created this wig was by using synthetic versions of pig ears. So all these hard surfaces that you see are pig ears. And that's what makes up the hairstyle.
See, I always thought that they looked like seashells or something. So
I thought it,
like especially like the old soaps. I don't know if anybody ever had the seashell soaps in their bathroom, but it was like you just
in the bathroom.
you just glue a bunch of those to your head and just like dreadlock your hair through them. You got the Kazon hairstyle for sure.
I assume no dogs were allowed on set. Dogs eat pig ears,
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, right. They'll steal the Kazon's wig and run off.
I thought it was scrap. I thought it was scrap paper. I thought their hair had paper stuck in it.
Okay, that's
No,
fair.
I think it was pet pig ears. It wasn't like pig ears. It was pet pig ears.
Pet
It was
pig
like the
ears,
raw hides that they
Yeah,
give
they
pets.
were synthetic. They were made like I don't know, plastic form that looked like pig ears.
That's what could be.
Yeah, exactly. Astra says later in the episodes they put leaves in their hair, which I think
I knew it was
sounds familiar too. Yeah.
to me.
And Melanie's calling it plaque psoriasis. I don't know.
Camouflage hair.
Cheers. Did you have a thought?
So, you mentioned that, how badly they set up the Kazon. I really do think the Kazon in this episode are like the villains they got out of the gumball machine. They didn't even spend the money on getting them from Wish. They got them out of the nickel gumball machine at the grocery store. When they haven't adjusted for inflation, so they're still a nickel. Sorry, I didn't mean to make anybody choke. But even in episodes like Balance of Terror, where you've never heard of the Romulans before, and you only have an hour, they give us a story about the Romulans. These guys, they just kind of show up, and there's nothing with them. And honestly, even though we do see them again in other episodes, I think the Kazon are the stupidest, and I don't dislike them because they're villains. I dislike them because they're poorly written, except for the one who is played by a guest starring actor from DS9. That's the only Kazon who's well written, in my opinion.
I think
just think that the
just
Kazon as a whole are poorly written.
Kazon DS9. Who?
just reading through sort of the development of the script, which I did that entire 2 hours that we were watching that episode. I was reading through these notes, and it seems to me like the Ocampa and the Kazon were, I don't want to say afterthoughts, because they weren't afterthoughts. They were conceived of from the very beginning. The Ocampa were originally devised to be a short-lived species like a mayfly. In fact, all of the scripts called them the mayfly species.
Right.
And the Kazon were originally conceived of as a loose confederation of one species separated by tribes or sects, which didn't agree on anything, which we do see that translated into the episode. But it seems through the development of the episode, they were more concerned about the introduction of the crew and the sort of not dereliction, but the stranding of the crew in the Delta Quadrant took precedence over the development of either of the alien species. Now, the Ocampa got a little bit more, I think, because we have Kess come aboard as a member of the crew at the end.
Oh, she's an Ocampa?
She's an Ocampa.
Okay, I was going to ask you, which was what?
She's an Ocampa.
Okay.
Yeah, the pig ears with the wig, that's the Kazon.
That's the Kazon, yeah.
So that was just my impression, is that they weren't developed nearly as much as you would say a Romulan species or a Klingon species.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense there.
I think they get a little bit more as season 1 goes on, but still not nearly as well developed as what we're used to.
Yeah.
Oh, overall, they're not until you get the Seska plot, but even then, their development is fairly poorly done. I still think you get more development of the Romulans in the episode Balance of Terror, or you get better writing of, I don't know, I mean, they still strike me as, Wish knockoffs, which is really saying a lot on their quality of writing.
All right. Are there any comments that I missed in chat that anybody wants me to read out? Or does anybody want, if I missed a comment, did you want to come on and say the comment?
Astra's comment that's right there at 413.
Hold on.
They
are classic villains of the week here. Again, they were not supposed to stay in the quadrant. That's true. Remember the Ferengi first introduction or the Trill? Yeah, definitely the Trill. That's a good example because they were introduced in an episode of The Next Generation. I believe it was the host, and subsequently made their reappearance on DS9 with Jadzia Dax, and it was completely different. By that time, they had more time to really develop the idea. So great example for species. Maj Kula is pretty well written. I agree with you. I think Maj Kula was a great character. Kind of in a cartoonish villain, but very well written. I wish we'd actually seen more of him, to be honest. All right. I think that's it. Any other comments? Bess.
So I think that I think it's interesting talking about not the Ocampa. Why is my brain suddenly not remembering their name?
The Kazon.
Kazon, thank you. My brain just stopped participating. I think what's interesting about the Kazon is that they're technologically advanced, but they're socially quite backwards, right? Sociologically, they're tribal, they're misogynist, but they have space travel, right? They clearly have warp or whatever. So it's a strange juxtaposition of being advanced on one area and totally what we would consider primitive in another area.
Yeah.
That I guess they are kind of like the Ferengi in that way. The Ferengi are they're economically advanced. The Ferengi are economically advanced, they're technologically advanced, but we would consider them socially backwards. But then some are tribal, they wear loincloths and You know, like even their clothing is you don't get these. They seem to live in caves. Like there's something like very advanced and very primitive about them at the same time. That's
Right.
interesting.
That was the part that bothered me, was that the water part.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I like your sort of analogy to the Ferengi with the Kazon, but do you know what species they really remind me of, the Kazon? They remind me of the Pac-Lads from Next Generation, where they're very socially underdeveloped and they're very socially backwards and they're very sort of I don't want to they're slow, but they have spacefaring technology, and we find out through the episode that that's because they're either stealing technology from people or they're or doing something sort of nefarious to get that technology, and that's what the Kazon reminds me of in that way.
Don't have their own technology. They've stolen it from other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. That makes it like the Pac-Lads then, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that the Jason Alexander character?
No, Jason Alexander was from an episode of The Next Generation called Think Tank. Was it?
That was
Sorry,
Voyager.
From Voyager, called Think Tank. That's later in like the fifth or sixth season, I think, fifth season.
See, I kind of agree with the dissemination that the Kazon are like the Klingons in their tribal slash compared to the Klingons, they have their houses. So at one point, the Kazon could have been unified, but then reverted back to their tribal ways once they kind of spread out. You know, because that's always a fear of if humans get in space travel. You know, if we unite as a singular entity and then we start sending people out, it's gonna tribalize each different exploration effort because they're going to be so far off put from the rest of society that they'll eventually become kind of their own thing.
That's a good point about sort of the fracturization of their society, right? The way that they tribalize and separate and all that. Asher says, yeah, it's a combination of species. But yeah, all of these analogies are great. The Kazon were something, I feel like the Kazon was just a whole lot of stuff mishmashed into one because they didn't know how else to define it. And like I said, they get better at it as season one goes on, but they never really reach that level of seriousness. Like when the Kazon show up, it's not like, oh darn, the Romulan warbird just uncloaked and we're in serious trouble now. And it was never really that intimidated by them. I think there was one episode where they really came off strong, but all right. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for this segment. The next Zoom that we have is at 5:00 p.m. on the East Coast. That will be a pre-recorded interview that we did with Rick Sternbach, who was the senior illustrator and technical consultant who designed the USS Voyager and many of the other ships and props. Yes, Melanie, today at 5:00 p.m. You can use essentially the same Zoom link that you used to get into this meeting will work for that meeting as well. Same password, everything. So yeah, if you want, you can stay in. Well, actually, no, I actually have to end this Zoom because in order for me to upload these snippets to YouTube for people that missed the showing, I have to kind of break it up into little pieces. So I am going to end the Zoom and then we'll come back on at 5:00. So hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, damn.
5 Pacific time. Okay.
5 Pacific. Oh, 5.
See you at 5:00 and happy Voyager 30.
Okie dokie.
Happy
Crystal.
Voyager.
Happy Voyager 30.
Bye.
All right.